if you have a offline business and you want to be able to leverage the online space, then this episode it's for you. Hey, episode 30, right? Episode 30. Wow. So today's episode, what I would like to talk to you about is that, if you have a digital business or if you have a offline business and you want to be able to take advantage of the online landscape, the online infrastructure to be able to help you, grow your business, especially in this new normal, then this episode is something that you want to pay attention to because I'm going to be talking about a few things. Number one, it's what is the difference between a regular business, a regular offline business, and a digital business? Well, for starters, an offline business really requires you to have a physical location, and because of the physical location itself, you are tied down to a fixed number of places, because unless you are one of those roaming around, otherwise you will be stuck in one place in itself. So the first thing is location. Location plays a great part in the offline business compared to the online business. Number two is that because it's an offline business, you need inventory. You need to have your assets. You need to have, the infrastructure to be in place in order to carry out business. For example, if you want to set up a vegan shop, you have to, renovate the place. You have to have shelves. You have to have products. You have to carry inventory, right? And so as a result of that, you have a fixed amount of working capital that is tied down to inventory itself, because without the inventory, you are not able to sell anything, right? So if people come to your shop and they do not see what they expect to see, then what? Right? So the second part is about working capital. The third part is that with an offline business, what you do is that, for people to come into your place, there are basically 2 or 3 methods. One, of course, you could pay to acquire a customer. So that is like a promotion. For example, you may collaborate with a credit card company and to get them to mail out to all their credit card holders. Everyone who get the mailer get a 20% off when they come into your store, for example. So that is an acquisition of customers. You might also expect to have what they call foot traffic. That means people who are in that vicinity and they kind of stumble upon your shop and they come into your shop itself. Of course, the third way is to do some kind of advertising, right? So there are basically three key ways for people to get to know you. Now, that is the offline space. So how is that different from the online space? Now, the online space is something that has become highly personalized. So, for example, in the good old days, you talked about mass customization, which means you are able to make something which is very similar, but you are able to make variations of that. And even without a huge production run, you're still able to do that because of machines, because of the fact that you're able to use automated machines to help you do that. So mass customization was the thing. Now, the next level to mass customization was actually personalization, right? So we start off with, the Ford Model T, whereby you can have any color you want as long as it's black, right? So that is like, you take it or you leave it. But afterwards, we have mass customization, which means that you are able to have a smaller production run without incurring huge costs, and you are able to make variations of the same product to cater to different people, right? So that's mass customization. But with the next level, it's really personalization, which means that you are able to provide a level of personalized service to the people that you serve. Now, traditionally, if you were to rely on offline mode of doing business, personalization comes at a very high cost. In other words, for you to be able to address that particular client's needs in a way that it's different from the other clients, which means you do not have a cookie cutter solution, that it's really, really expensive, because in order to do that, you have to involve human, right? So like, for example, in my line of work, initially what we did was we have what we call a cookie cutter solution, which means every client that we see, we kind of give them the same solution despite whatever stage they are at. Now, of course, over time, now with that cookie cutter solution, of course, what you end up with is that you compete on price, because people are going to say that, well, how much do you charge, and how much is the competitors charging? And typically they will go with the lower pricing guy. They probably pick you unless you have a great rapport with them, for example. Now, then we move from the cookie cutter solution to a more customized solution. In other words, when we walk into a client, we do not give them that same 20-page checklist. What we do is that we actually do a diagnosis, right? We diagnose what is the problem, what is the challenges, what are the seen, what are the unseen, what are the least seen issues that are at hand. And so with that, it requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of thinking in order to be able to solve the client's problem. And so that is customization. Now, over time, of course, we were able to design a framework, a process, so that any consultants that work with us would be able to use the same process to a minimum degree of variation to serve the client. So, whether you get consultant A, consultant B, or consultant C to do the work, we all go through the same process itself. Of course, when it comes to recommendations and the ability to spot what may be some of the challenges that the client's facing, that might differ from consultant to consultant. That being said, we still adhere to the same type of framework and approach when it comes to dealing with customers. So that is the customization part. Now, then it comes to this part about personalization. In other words, I want a one-on-one solution. I want you to design a specialized solution for me, right? And that becomes incredibly, expensive, because to do that, you really need to put someone in touch with the client, and that someone would then be seeing that, okay, Mr. Client, let's go through what are some of your challenges, and then from there, to decide like what is it that you're facing, and then look at what are the solutions that we can provide, right? So that is that personalization, which in other words, it means that if you look from project to project to project, no two projects are alike, because every organization, every companies would have different set of problems unique to them. And so, solution for company A may not apply to solution for company B. Now, how does the digital world kind of, break that apart and, bring that into this new level that we're looking at? As you can see from the lockdown in the past few weeks and months, in most places, many people have taken to the online to do their work, to socialize, to order food, to get the supplies. Increasingly things are going to be done. Increasingly things were being done online, and I think at some point in time people are going to wake up to the fact that, hey, it's silly for me to want to go into, jump into the car and drive out and go out to shop, and then realize that, when I'm there, the whatever that I want is not available. If I can do it online and I can have that delivered to me, plus, I can have some level of personalization whereby, if it doesn't fit or if I do not like it, I am able to send it back at no cost to me. Then it becomes a situation of, I would prefer to do that. I think most people would, with the exception of a few types of services where you have no choice but to be physically there in order to complete the transaction, right? Example, a haircut. And so, the thing is, when a lot of businesses, when they kind of transform from the offline to the online, what they were thinking of was, whatever I did offline, I am just going to do it online. So an example, it's like, like for me, I do a lot of training for organizations, for schools, right? And so, the easiest way for me to do that is to say that, well, because of the lockdown, I'm not able to go in there into your company, and people from different parts of your organization cannot come together. We cannot congregate. And so the best way to do is to leverage, the internet, and to leverage this to kind of to resolve the problem, right? To deliver the services. Now, I mean, that is the most obvious way, right? So that it's level one. But level two, it's that, it's for us to see and to say that, well, what is it that hey, Reason, how are you? So the thing is really for us to take a look and see and say that, is there a second level that we could do, that something that, many people were reluctant to do, many people were not able to do it because of whatever happens. But now, is there something that we can do it differently? Is there something that we can do to kind of do, to take advantage of the digital solutions? And the answer, of course, is that yes, there are. However, many people, I think, are still hanging on to the same mindset of the way that they do business offline, and they are kind of transferring that same mindset when they go online. Take, for example, this. I had a client. What happened was that they wanted to bring in more people to even, reach out to people who are who have been using the competitors' products, right? And they want to use, leverage social media and web technology, for example, to reach out to these people who have been using competitors' products and to kind of sway them towards their organization, their company, their brand. Now, the unfortunate thing is that, when they were looking at implementing their digital strategy, the way that they have chosen to do it was basically, in the past, we would run a roadshow, and we would kind of, be at the center of this exhibition itself, so that when people walked in, even if they're going to the competitors' booth, they will see our booth, right? And so the same mindset when you bring that to the online space is that, it doesn't matter if someone is searching for a competitor's brand. I want to make sure that, my ads comes up on top. I want to make sure that my ads get seen by the competitors, and and at whatever cost, right? I just want to make sure that happens itself. Now, as they do that, they increasingly realize that they were getting into a lot of people clicking on their ads, but there were no conversions at all, right? There were no conversions at all because, if you are someone who is bent on buying an Apple laptop, for example, a Mac, right? And when you type in a search, assuming you do not go to the Apple's website, directly, if you type in a search and you say that, MacBook Pro 13-inch, for example, and the first ad, the first result that comes up is an ad from, let's say, Microsoft Surface. Chances are, even if you were to click on the ad itself, and that's a very slim chance, right? But chances are, even if you're going to click on that ad, you probably want to see, how bad the Surface is, and that kind of affirm or validate your inclination towards purchasing a Mac. And so, that strategy doesn't quite work in the online space. So how is it that, we are able to get that to work for the client itself? We go back to a very, very fundamental thing. And the very, very fundamental thing is that when you talked about prospects, when you talked about customers, when you talked about, the audience that you want to reach, they only have one thing in their mind. And the one thing in their mind, it's basically, what can you do for me? Right? That's basically their mindset. What can you do for me? Right? Yeah, I mean, I know you represent this brand. I know you do this, but if you're gonna want my attention, what is it that you can do for me? If you can't tell me, what is it that you can do for me, and if you are only interested in promoting yourself, then I'm not interested. Right? I'm not interested. Because, it's not like in the physical space whereby you actually have to walk away from the person. Now it's just swiping it away. And it's as simple as that. So what is it that we did with this client that helped them achieve that breakthrough, not only in terms of their results, but in terms of their strategies and also in terms of their thinking? That was crucial, right? And so the thing that we did for this client was that we say, hey, at the end of the day, the people that you want to reach, whether they are currently using a competitor's brand or they are presumably, wanting to consider your brand, they only have one thing in mind. And that one thing is it's what can you do for me? And so when that question is being asked, there are basically 3 levels of what can you do for me that you can help the prospect, right? So number 1 is that you need to kind of, reverse engineer that. What do you want is for them to transact with you, right? What you want is for them to take the action and say that I want to do business with you. Okay, so in order for them to say that, yes, I want to do business with you, the preceding step that must happen is that they must have a desire, right? They must have that yearning to want to do business with you. That, yes, I feel that it's that emotion, right? It's that I want this badly because I believe, right? I believe that you can solve my problem. Okay? And so that's the one step back. And now if you take a look at, in order for that person to have that strong desire, what is the preceding step? And the preceding step comes down to this: to understand the thinking of your customers or your prospects, and to be able to influence them or to guide them to help them make an informed decision, right? To help them make an informed decision. So if I were to give you an example, in that same process itself, first thing first, whenever you think of buying something, you always start thinking by saying that, what is good right now and what can be better, right? So for example, if you are looking at buying a new car, you will say that, well, what's good now is that I do not have like for me, we do not own a car. We choose not to own a car. What's good is now I have no financial obligations to maintain a depreciating liability, right? But what could be better is that, it comes with a certain level of convenience, right? I do not need to hail a ride. I do not need to wait for the car. I could drive myself anywhere I want to. But of course, the thought of that could bring about two sets of things, and typically what most of us would do is we will think of it in terms of, is this good or is this bad? Why? Because that's how we are trained to think. We've always been trained to think that, this thing that's happening, is it good or is it bad? Now, in reality is that nothing is good or bad, but thinking about it makes it so, right? And so if you look at, for example, this COVID-19, is it good or bad? Well, good and bad compared to what, right? Good and bad compared to what? And so, and if you take a larger perspective and you take a more global view itself, are you able to see the positivity of it? But the problem is that most of us will evaluate a situation and say, is this good or bad? Right? It's just like, when you tell someone that, oh, I went to this restaurant the other day, and they were asked, is the food good? Right? Oh yeah, it's good, it's great. Or nah, it's not so good, And so we have this binary way of thinking about things, like it's good or bad. Okay. Now, for the most part, that's how we evaluate. And so what you want to do is, first you want to make sure that you are able to guide the client or the prospect to think about, I want to engage with you because it's something good, right? And in order for them to think that it's good, the best way is that as long as you are able to appeal to the fact that you're solving that problem, they will think it's good. All right? They will think it's good. Now, of course, next, the thing is, once you are able to tell them that, hey, I can solve your problem, right? The next thing that you want to do is you want to get them all excited. What is the best way of getting it all excited? Well, let me tell you this. I've been to many seminars, and I tell you the best seminars are what we call the before and after. What it means by that, you go to a seminar and they tell you that, look, we have this new system, and this new system is going to transform the way that you learn, for example. And right before your eyes, the person who is doing the seminar would actually transform this group of people, this random group of people, not people who are staged, right? This random group of people, transform them then, and let you see the before and after. I give you the example. I was, on a cruise in the late part of last year itself, and we went to one of this, sharing session about how you could use this insole in your shoe to kind of help correct your posture, right? The standee that caught my attention was, do you have a backache that doesn't seem to go away, which I do, right? And so when you go to the seminar itself, they tell you that, well, the backache is due to the fact that your your posture is bad, right? Your posture is bad. Why is your posture bad? Because over time, you some parts wear out, and because it wears out itself, you no longer have the cushion, and because of that, you kind of compensate it by correcting a posture or adjusting a posture, which inevitably in the long run hurts you more than it helps you. And so this lady asked a few people to come up to do a demonstration. So the first thing that she did was she asked us to put our hands together like this, and then she would apply as much weight as possible on the hands, right? And obviously we're gonna fall, we're gonna lose our balance and all. And so, she did that for a small petite lady, and she did that for a huge gentleman, right? And both of them were losing the balance. And then later on, she got them to put on the insole, right? In fact, they were just standing on the insole itself. They weren't even putting it in their shoes. They were just, standing on that insole. And she did the exact same demonstration. And this time around, both the lady as well as the man, both of them were as stable as a rock. And so if you are there and you see like the before and the after, you will be like, wow, I mean, that blows my mind. And in fact, that was what went through my mind. It was like, wow, it's phenomenal. So in the online space, what is it that you could do to do that, right? What is it that you could do to do that? The best way that I've come across, and that's something that I've done both in the offline as well as the online, is to teach. Because when you teach someone to solve that problem, and you are able to control the fact that, to minimize the level or the number of variations or possibilities that it's not going to work for them, if you're able to control that, right? And so, you teach your prospect to do certain thing. And, before they were having this struggle, and after that, they were able to resolve that challenge itself, right? Just because of that one tip, that one simple thing, that one thing that it's easy enough to do, but it may be that one thing that it's, holding them back. Now, what is that one thing? That's something that you have to figure out, right? Because it differs from industry to industry and from practice to practice. But the point is that once you are able to identify what is that one thing that you're able to help them achieve that level of success, that is the equivalent of the before and after in an offline demonstration. Right? So the first one is to guide them to think that, you have my interest at heart, because that's when I'm going to think that you are good for me, right? And secondly is to then really help them get the results that they want, even if it's a small result, but you are able to help them achieve that breakthrough, right? If you are able to do that itself, you teach them how to do that. Imagine what's going to happen. Now they have greater trust in you. And in fact, they have been able to try you out for free, right? They're able to try you out for free. And of course, in the offline space, that's going to be really costly, because imagine that women have to go to so many different places to do the demonstration itself. It's just not possible, right? But now on the internet, right, leveraging digital technology itself, you can create a one course, right? That one, what I call a catalytic course. You can create that one course, and you just have to do it once, but it's something that's going to help you over and over and over again. And so, that's the thing that makes them feel like, wow, look at the before and after. Now I'm able to do this, right? And it's like, even if they have to convince their spouse that this time is different, at least they've got something to prove, right? And so then the third thing is you got to make it easy for them to want to do business with you. And so what does that mean, to make it easy for them to want to do business with you? I think the best way to do that is to share with them what is it like to do business with you, and what are the things that they could look out for, and how they can experience you, right? What are the ways that you can help them, and that's the way to go, right? And so this whole process itself, actually, it's what I call the flywheel, because every step that you put in place, the part about telling them that, hey, I have your interest at heart, so that they think that you are good for me, that's part one. Part two is you actually help them get results without them even asking, right? You help them get results without them even asking. The only thing for them to do is to try you out. And so that's the second piece, which is called the catalytic course. And then the third part is you have to have a way to complete that transaction, right? And so again, it will differ from business to business, but the truth of the matter is that you will be able to identify, what are some things that you could do, right? To kind of put all that pieces in place. And so if you want, more of that, what I've done is, I'm in the final stage of putting this website together, but I just want to give you a sense of it. And so you can go to this website below. It's called below. Yeah, it's called buildyourflywheel.com. So head on down to the website itself, and what you will see is a 4-part audio course that I've put together. And that 4-part audio course, it's gonna teach you the steps that I just spoke to you about, right? And so, when you go there, opt in, and then you will get the 4-part course, which is gonna start next week. All right. And so, today is a long one. And so with that, I thank you for watching. And if you've got questions for me, feel free to leave it in the comments. If you want to find out more about Build the Flywheel, take a visit down to the website itself. I'll be more than glad to have you look around and help me spot any mistakes that I make on the website, right? But more importantly, you want to check out that free audio course. It's a 4-part audio course that is going to roll out on 30th June. And it's going to go on for 4 days. So it's going to go into your inbox for 4 days. And at the end of the 4 days, you will get a clearer picture of what is it that you can do and why you need to do this. All right. So with that, I thank you. Stay safe. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.